Hi there, I'm Sandy Starr.
I'm Dr. Carrie Menke.
So we have a awesome workshop April 28th. It's in person in Carlsbad, and we wanted to share a couple of slides about what we're presenting, just to give you a teaser so you can see how we're tying in the brain and the body. I'm a holistic practitioner and nutritionist, and then Dr. Carrie does trauma coaching. Yes. So together, we're just super excited to bring these two sides of things to kind of give you a full circle of what it takes to really have healing. So I'm going to go ahead and attempt to share my screen. We'll get going on that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start this. And okay, are we good to go?
Yeah, looks great. So like Sandy said, it's called the Brain Body Connection, the workshop that we're putting together, and just a couple of a few teaser slides of what we're going to be presenting on to show you just a little bit about this topic, because it's so broad. There's so much we could talk about with our expertises in these areas. So we just wanted to pull out a couple of tips for you that we're going to be presenting on.
All right.
So
Awesome.
we're going to talk about how trauma is stored in the body. Now, when a stressor happens to someone, it could be a big traumatic event. It could be small traumatic events, just general life stressors that just, really impact you. It actually overwhelms the nervous system, and our brain disconnects in order to cope with what's happening. This then has traumatic energy that comes along with it, and it gets stored in the body somewhere because the brain isn't able to process it. So it gets stored in your organs and tissues. And this can actually cause illness, acute or chronic, and eventually can cause diseases if it's left unaddressed. You can get healed physically from an illness, but if you're constantly triggered by that traumatic event, you may actually struggle with chronic physical ailments. So I like the quote that I put on the slide here is trauma can essentially become stuck energy within the body, especially when it overwhelms our cognition and overwhelms the systems in the brain.
That's good.
Next slide.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
So some of the things that manifest when you have trauma stored in your body is sleep disorders, heart and lung conditions, abdominal issues and gut imbalance, sexual health problems, much higher increased likelihood of depression and anxiety. People are more likely to abuse alcohol and or drugs. They struggle with issues of concentration or attention deficit disorders, and also just struggling with inner feelings of shame or self-blame, being damaged, or feeling like they are bad. Now, these things are not lifelong conditions. They don't have to debilitate you forever, but that's where we're tying in how trauma impacts the body and the brain, and that the healing needs to be holistic in order to overcome these things if you do struggle from these things as a result of trauma.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, definitely ties in. Definitely ties into cortisol. So physically what happens, cortisol is a hormone. It's the stress hormone. So what it does, it affects a lot of things in our system. And when somebody has stress and becomes chronic, then there's a lot of things that happen, and it's like a domino effect. But the good news is cortisol is good. It's not a bad thing, and it's actually meant to save your life. So you've heard the analogy, you see a bear, right? Your adrenaline kicks in, the cortisol gets elevated, it shoots the hormones where they need to go, and you run, right? But what happens in life, you get that chronic stress, you get the trauma that's unresolved. There's problems with that, but cortisol is good in the way that it actually helps the blood, the liver. It helps convert amino acids to glucose, which we do need, right? Our bodies depend on that for energy and fuel. It also helps counter inflammation and allergies, which is something that most people don't know because you don't think about that with cortisol, right? It also helps maintain your blood volume and blood pressure. So if somebody has chronic cortisol elevated, more than likely they've got blood pressure issues, and then they go on medications, and it doesn't solve the problem, right? I'm all about root cause healing, and I know Dr. Carrie is as well. We want to get underneath, and we really want to figure out what's causing these triggers. So the other thing that cortisol does, it maintains and balances stress, right? And mood and the emotional stability. So cortisol is good as long as it's used for acute when it's under like high stress, or when it's normal to keep things balanced and flowing correctly. But what happens when you get chronic cortisol, what happens, chronic stress, what happens is you get these imbalances. It's almost the opposite of when it's balanced, right? So it's almost like a bipolar hormone, right? It really does affect your body. And so it does elevate glucose. So what happens with your blood sugar, when it gets elevated, your body produces fat cells. Those fat cells hold on to these toxins and whatnot, and then stores. So you get a lot of midsection weight gain when your cortisol is chronically elevated. So that is one of the issues we see quite a bit. And then obviously blood sugar issues, right? So a lot of people that are pre-diabetic, and there's a lot of type 2 diabetes. So this all ties together. It also will pull minerals out of your bones. So you're talking about osteoporosis. That is not good, right? Also muscle atrophy. That's another thing, because you're getting elevated fat and you're reducing the muscle mass. And so also the inflammatory, the antibody response, IgA, in the system. And I will definitely get into gut health, because that is the core of where I go when I work with people. And that has something to do with the response that your body has when toxins come in or things that it needs to clear, any kind of infections, things like that. That gets compromised, therefore your immune system gets compromised, which 75% of it is in your GI tract. And so we will definitely cover that as well. One of my favorite areas. And so with that, you tend to get degeneration, you get diseases, and all these things come up because you're having an imbalance. So that's just something on cortisol, one hormone of many that can really affect us. But we're seeing with people with high stress right now and unresolved trauma that the cortisol usually is not in balance. And that is one area that's critical to definitely get some healing. So with the webinar, not the webinar, the workshop, I keep saying webinar, don't I? We want to be in person this time. This is so important to be in person for this. Yeah. So this will be in Carlsbad, by the way. So why sign up? Right? Dr. Carrie, you kind of give them a little insight on that, because there's a good reason why we should be signing up for this workshop.
Yeah. So as Sandi was mentioning, I mean, trauma can impact your body, your health, just overall everything really. And so it expresses itself in ways that we need to understand. So hearing from us the expertise of how it manifests in the gut, like Sandi was saying, and how I'm going to walk you through, what is trauma, how to work through some of those triggers in the brain, we really will tie together what we do so that you can leave there with actual tips and tangible steps in your healing. So if you've experienced any type of stressor in your life, which pretty much encompasses everybody, especially if you've been through the last couple of years with COVID, that's been stressful for everybody. It doesn't have to be a major trauma, but if you want to understand the connection and the influences with the brain and the body, then this is definitely a workshop for you. So some of the topics we're going to cover, like we mentioned, were stress and anxiety. If you're feeling stuck, especially in like your healing journey from something, if you're struggling with difficulty losing weight, or chronic GI issues. Those are really key things that we're going to cover.
Right. And also I want to mention too that there's times when we've had trauma in the past. It could be a childhood trauma, and you feel like you've actually resolved that. You've had forgiveness, you've moved on, but you're still having physical things going on in your body, or you're getting triggers. And so you really haven't processed it 100%. And so that's why it's really interesting when you start seeing what happens in the body. There's some mystery sometimes with what's going on in our systems. We've done everything, we eat right, the list goes on, but we're still not getting that healing. So we want to kind of approach this in a very unique way where we're kind of underneath everything. And what you'll learn will be pretty interesting in the sense of how it's all connected. And then the smallest thing can be such a trigger. So we definitely want to, we're so excited because it's the first time we've done this together. So we're super excited. And so to sign up, it's the brain body connection workshop. You just go to my website, sandyjstar.com. You can go to the shop page. We also have an event page that will lead you to the shop page. So just go directly there, you sign up. Again, it's April 28th, 6 to 8 p.m. in Carlsbad. All the information is on the website, so you can go ahead and check that out. So we hope to see you there.
It's going to be really exciting. We're going to also have, you're going to leave there with worksheets. You're going to have tangible things you can take home. We're going to have some light refreshments and also raffle tickets. So it's going to be a really fun time.
Yeah, we're excited. Actually, we're also going to be included in this workshop is a Zoom follow-up with everybody 2 weeks after, because we really want to be there afterwards for you. So, because we are going to set some fun stuff for you to do. After the workshop, you're going to have take-home things you can actually apply right away. And we'll be talking about those in the 2-week follow-up. And again, if you bring a friend, you get extra raffle tickets. We've got a really beautiful basket we've put together. It's going to be fun. We'll have some light treats, food, healthy, of course, for you to enjoy and mingle with some great people in our community of Carlsbad. So we hope to see you there.
Yes, looking forward to it.